This is the study of geography, and these are the branches of geography: physical geography, human geography, and practical geography. These are among the few topics that we look at when we study geography. We look at industrialization, we look at forestry, we look at tea plantations, maize plantations, brick making industry, among many others. Welcome to Geography Form 1 Lesson.
Hello learners, you are welcome to our Geography Form 1 Lesson 13. Our previous lesson was about sunshine as an element of weather. And today we are going to learn about another element of weather, which is temperature. And we start by defining the term temperature, and we say that temperature is the sensible heat. It is the sensible heat within the Earth's atmosphere. Temperature is determined by the heat that is radiated by the sun. It is determined by the radiant heat that is given out by the sun. And so that is why in our previous lesson we said that the sun is the primary source of all the heat energy that is found on the Earth's surface. The sun rays we saw last time travel from the sun in a form of short wave, and they pass through the empty space. So that is why we call them radiation. It is through the process of radiation, solar radiation or solar insolation. This radiation, the sun rays are able to pass through the space, even through areas where there is no medium in a vacuum, and they are able to pass through because they are short waves. They travel very fast and they are able to reach the Earth's surface within a very short time. Now, when they are transferred to the Earth's surface, when they are transferred to the Earth's surface, they are able to generate heat. When the sun rays reach the Earth's surface and they come into contact with an object, this light that is transferred from the sun to the Earth's surface, we call it solar radiation or solar insolation. And we have said that this radiation is the transfer of heat through a medium. And sometimes even the solar insolation may not even pass through any medium. It may pass through a vacuum because the sun rays travel as short waves and they cover very short time. Now, the amount of heat that reaches the Earth's surface is dependent on a number of factors. We want to look at the factors that influence the amount of heat that reaches the Earth's atmosphere, the Earth's surface and atmosphere. The heat, which now we call temperature, depends on the amount of sunshine, the strength of sunshine that place receives. Areas with very strong sunshine will record high temperatures, and areas with weak sun rays will record less temperatures. We also talk about temperatures will also depend on the distance of that place from the sun. Areas which are near the equator will receive strong sunshine, and therefore their temperatures will be high. So temperature depends on the factors that also light depends on. For a place to receive intense sunlight, there must be some favorable factors, and these are the same factors that are also going to influence the amount of temperatures. Like, for example, we have talked about the distance from the sun, the distance of a place from the sun. The areas which are near the equator are very near the sun, as compared, relatively speaking, they are nearer the sun than those that are at the poles. The distance is quite a long distance. We are also talking about the transparency of the atmosphere. The transparency of the atmosphere which has got a lot of dust particles, accumulation of materials like volcanic eruption dust, smoke, pollen grains, some of the objects, some of the particles, they either reflect the light away or they absorb it, and they don't allow the light to reach the Earth's surface. And so that place below there will record low temperatures as compared to a place which has got less dust particles in the air. So those are the factors that we are talking about that influence the temperatures of a place. The nature of the surface. If the place is rough and dark colored, that is the color of the place, it will receive more heat. The light energy, it will receive more light, and that light will be converted into what? Into heat energy, and the temperatures therefore will be high. The angle at which the sun rays hit the ground. If the sun rays are hitting the ground at right angles, definitely they will be able to warm a large surface area. They warm a smaller surface area, and they make that place become hot, therefore increasing the amount of temperatures. So we are talking, basically, we are talking about the temperatures of a place depend on the distance of a place from the equator, from the sun, the transparency of that place. We are also talking about the angle at which the sun rays hit the ground. We are also talking about the aspect of that place, whether the place is facing to the north or to the south, especially those that are found in high latitudes. And so these places will record higher temperatures if they are facing the sun. And if they are facing away from the sun, then they will record low temperatures. And now the sun rays, which warm the Earth's surface and which warm the Earth's atmosphere, do so through three processes. The processes through which the Earth's atmosphere or the Earth's surface is warmed. And these processes include radiation. And we are saying that the sun releases the sun rays to all directions. And so some of the sun rays, a small amount of the sun rays are able to reach our Earth's atmosphere and at surface. The sun rays, when they reach the ground or the Earth's surface, whichever surface they come into contact with, depending on what is found in that place, whether it's a water surface or it is the ground, the sun rays warm that ground. They make that ground become warm because the rays, the direct sun rays, get converted immediately into heat energy. And so that place becomes warmed up because it has received radiation energy from the sun. So that is what we call radiation as a process of warming the Earth's surface, because the sun rays get into contact with the ground, and so it warms that place like that. Then we have these sun rays that have reached the ground and they have been warmed up. The ground has been warmed up. The ground also releases some of the energy to the air or into the Earth's atmosphere. So it radiates back the heat energy. It receives the light energy, converts it into heat, and radiates it back into the Earth's atmosphere. So that is what we call radiation. Then we have conduction as another process. The second process of through which the Earth's surface and the Earth's atmosphere is now warmed is convection. When the sun rays reach the ground, they get converted into heat. and that is through radiation now. Then they warm the air that is immediately above the ground. The air molecules which are in contact with the ground, they get warmed up, and when they get warmed up, they become warm because they are directly in contact with the ground. So that is warming the atmosphere through conduction, getting in contact with the ground, the air that is in contact. The part of the atmosphere that is in contact with the ground gets warmed up from when it touches the ground or when it is in directly in contact with the ground. Then we talk about the other way that the ground, the atmosphere is warmed is through convection. And we are saying that when the sun has released the sun rays in a form of radiation, they reach the ground, the sun rays get converted into heat energy, and then they warm the air that is directly above that point. This air is like a fluid. It is like a liquid. When it gets warmed up, it becomes light and regains energy. It is able to rise up into the air. But it does not rise in a straight way. It rises in a form of currents. It makes convectional currents. So as it is moving up in a form of currents, it is able to warm all the other air, that it is getting in contact with. So we are finding out that the ground gets warmed up through radiation, and the atmosphere now, the air that is directly above the ground, gets warmed up through conduction and through convection. Those are the processes through which the air is, the atmosphere is warmed up. That is what we have been able to cover today. We have been able to look at temperature, the sense for heat that is found in the Earth's atmosphere, and it is a product of sunshine. So we had learned about sunshine, so we are following it up to what it gives rise to. Sunshine gives rise to the temperature. Then we said temperature is not uniform on the Earth's surface. So there are some places which have got more temperature, others record less temperature. So the factors that influence the amount of temperature in a place, they include aspect, transparency of that place, the nature of the surface, the latitude, those are some of the factors that influence the amount of temperature of a place, the distance that the sun rays travel from the sun to the Earth's surface. Then we talked about the processes through which the Earth's atmosphere is warmed. It is warmed through radiation, it is also warmed through conduction, and it is also warmed through convection. And that is what we have been able to cover today. Thank you very much.
We're very grateful that you found time to watch our content. Kindly press the subscribe button down there and leave a like if the content was helpful to you. Join us in the next lessons. Thank you.